Most men think making a woman squirt is about hitting the right spot. They're wrong. You can find the exact tissue. You can use perfect technique, and she still won't release. Because squirting isn't a physical trick, it's a nervous system response. If you don't understand that, the same touch that could create pleasure will make her tense, pull away, or say, "I feel like I need to pee." And once you understand why that happens, everything changes. That's what we're breaking down today. I'm Dr. Julia Rhodes, a men's sex therapist who has worked with couples for over a decade, helping men understand how female pleasure, safety, and deep release actually work in the body. And today, we're talking about one of the most misunderstood experiences in female sexuality: squirting. For many men, helping a woman reach that kind of release feels like the ultimate achievement. It's intense, vulnerable, and deeply validating. There's something profoundly satisfying about witnessing your partner experience pleasure at that level, a release so complete that it transcends the ordinary. But here's what happens in my practice. Men come to me frustrated. They've watched videos, read articles, tried different techniques, and nothing works. Or worse, their partner becomes uncomfortable, the moment becomes awkward, and they both retreat, feeling like something's wrong. The truth is, most advice focuses exclusively on mechanics, finding the G-spot, the A-spot, pressing harder, moving faster, using specific finger patterns. And while technique matters, it's only half the equation. In this video, I will explain where stimulation matters. There are actually two primary areas, and in some women, one responds far better than the other. I'll also explain what's physically happening when the urethral sponge swells and prepares for release. But I'm also going to tell you the truth most videos avoid. Even if your technique is perfect, most men still won't get this result. And that's because squirting is not something you force. It's something a woman allows. It's an act of deep surrender, not to you, but to herself, to her own body, to sensations she may have spent years suppressing or controlling. Before we dive into anatomy and technique, let's talk about what squirting actually represents. In my years working with couples, I've noticed that men often pursue this experience for validation. They want to prove they're skilled lovers. They want to be the one who gave her something she's never experienced before. But when your goal is validation, you create pressure, and pressure is the enemy of surrender. Women feel this. They sense when your ego is attached to their response, and that subtle, energetic pressure makes relaxation nearly impossible. So, before you try any of the techniques I'm about to share, ask yourself, why do I want this? Is it because you genuinely want to expand her pleasure? Because you want to create deeper intimacy and trust? Or is it because you need her squirting to feel confident as a lover? If it's the latter, your work begins internally, not with technique. Now, let's talk about what's actually happening in the body. Most women experience squirting through stimulation of either the G-spot or the A-spot. In this video, we'll focus mainly on the G-spot, though I encourage you to explore both areas over time, as women typically respond more strongly to one or the other. But first, let's clear up a major misconception that causes endless confusion. The G-spot is not a button. It's not a switch you flip. It's not a single point on a map. What you're actually engaging is a specific type of tissue called the urethral sponge, a cushion of erectile tissue that surrounds the urethra. This tissue sits on the front wall of the vagina, closer to the entrance than most men expect. With her lying on her back, insert a finger and move in about 1 to 2 inches, roughly 2 knuckles deep. Then apply pressure upward toward her belly button. Here's a critical point. You don't need depth. In fact, going too deep often means missing the area entirely. Many men push too far in, searching for something dramatic, when the most responsive tissue is relatively close to the opening. So how do you know when you've found it? Most vaginal tissue feels smooth and uniform. The urethral sponge feels different, slightly textured, almost spongy or ridged. Many describe it as feeling like the surface of a walnut or like corduroy fabric. When unaroused, this tissue may feel small or barely noticeable. But as arousal builds, it swells and becomes more pronounced, just like erectile tissue in men. The technique that actually works. Now that you understand what you're looking for, let's talk about stimulation. This is not poking. It's not jabbing. It's not rapid friction like you're trying to start a fire. The most effective movement is a slow, rhythmic, come here curl. Imagine beckoning someone toward you with your finger. You're drawing the tissue forward with firm but non-painful pressure. The key word here is rhythmic. Consistent rhythm is essential. Changing speed or pressure constantly disrupts her ability to build sensation and surrender into it. Think of it like music. A steady beat allows the body to relax and follow. Erratic changes create tension and confusion. So once you find the right pressure and rhythm, maintain it. Don't speed up because you think it will help her get there faster. Don't lighten your touch because you're worried you're being too rough. Consistency is everything. When this area is stimulated correctly, the urethral sponge and surrounding Skene's glands begin to engorge with fluid, similar to how erectile tissue fills with blood during arousal. That swelling creates pressure, and that pressure is what eventually leads to a squirting release. But here's where things get tricky. Why things suddenly go wrong. This is the moment where most men get confused, and where most attempts fall apart. You found the spot. Your movement feels right. The tissue is swelling. Everything seems to be working. And suddenly she tenses, grabs your wrist, or says, "Stop, I feel like I need to pee." Most men assume they did something wrong. They stop immediately. They doubt their technique. Or they decide squirting just isn't possible for her. But here's what's actually happening. And this is the part that changes everything. The problem isn't your technique. It's her nervous system. Let me explain. The pelvic floor is one of the primary places women store tension and stress. When a woman is anxious, overwhelmed, or doesn't feel fully safe, whether consciously or unconsciously, her body shifts into fight or flight mode. In that state, the pelvic floor muscles tighten defensively. This is called armoring, a protective holding pattern that blocks sensation and prevents release. When the pelvic floor is tight and armored, pressure on the urethral sponge doesn't feel pleasurable. It feels invasive. The sensation gets misinterpreted as bladder urgency or discomfort. She's not making this up. Her body is genuinely sending alarm signals. But here's the transformative part. When her nervous system shifts out of fight or flight and into rest and digest, what we call the parasympathetic state, that same tissue softens, fills with fluid, and becomes intensely pleasurable. The exact same touch, the exact same pressure, but a completely different experience, determined entirely by her nervous system state. This is why squirting cannot be forced. It requires relaxation, trust, and deep bodily surrender. And in a world where women are constantly managing stress, responsibilities, mental load, and survival mode, many have never felt safe enough in their bodies to let go that deeply. So they assume it's physically impossible for them, when really they've just never been in the right nervous system state. What most men get wrong about safety. This is where most men miss the real work, and it's the reason technique alone will never be enough. Squirting is not about extracting an orgasm from her body. It's about holding space for surrender. And a woman cannot surrender if her body is bracing for threat. The missing ingredient isn't better finger technique, it's safety. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, I'm a good guy, of course she feels safe with me, let me clarify what I mean. In my therapeutic work, I teach that for a woman to fully open sexually, she must feel three things: safe, seen, and stirred. For squirting specifically, safety is the absolute gatekeeper. Without it, nothing else matters. But here's where most men misunderstand what safety actually means in this context. Many men think safety means being overly cautious, asking permission every 30 seconds, tiptoeing around her body, speaking in soft, uncertain tones. Is this okay? Are you sure? Should I stop? Do you want me to keep going? While consent is obviously essential, this kind of constant checking in often communicates the opposite of safety. It communicates insecurity, and insecurity creates pressure. When you're anxiously monitoring her every reaction, seeking validation, needing reassurance that you're doing it right, she feels that energy. She senses that you need her to respond in a certain way to feel confident, that her orgasm is about validating you. And that subtle pressure tightens the pelvic floor immediately. So what does true safety look like? Real safety comes from grounded, calm presence. It's communicated through your nervous system, not your words. Before you even touch her body, you need to regulate your own state. Slow your breathing. Drop your awareness out of your racing thoughts and into your body. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel the weight of your body. When you are calm, centered, and genuinely unattached to outcome, meaning you're not invested in whether she squirts or not, her nervous system picks up on that stability. She realizes, often unconsciously, that she doesn't need to manage your emotions. She doesn't need to perform. She doesn't need to produce a result to make you feel adequate. In that space, she can actually relax. Think of it this way. Her feminine energy is like water, fluid, responsive, adaptive. Your masculine energy in this context needs to be like a riverbank. Solid, steady, unshakable. Water can only flow freely when the banks are strong. If you're anxious, rushing, or outcome-focused, you're not the riverbank anymore. You're just more water, creating chaos instead of container. So how do we bring all of this together in an actual intimate encounter? Let me walk you through what I call the integrated approach, where energy and technique work together. Step 1. Create the container. Before any physical touch begins, establish the energetic foundation. Slow everything down. Turn off distractions. Dim the lights if that helps. Create an atmosphere of no rush and zero expectation. This isn't about setting a romantic mood with candles and music, though those are fine if they help. It's about communicating through your presence. We have all the time in the world, and nothing needs to happen. Take several deep breaths yourself. Get present in your own body. Release any agenda about what this encounter should produce. Step 2. Build arousal gradually. This is where most men rush. They want to get to the main event. They skip past the foundation. But arousal isn't linear. It's cumulative. Every layer of relaxation and pleasure builds on the previous one. Start with massage, not as foreplay, but as genuine nervous system regulation. Massage her shoulders, her back, her legs. Use firm, confident touch. This isn't tentative stroking, it's grounded pressure that helps her body release tension. As you do this, you're also regulating your own nervous system. You're practicing being present without agenda. You're getting out of your head. Many men underestimate how powerful this stage is. 20 minutes of full body massage can shift her nervous system more effectively than any G-spot technique. Only when her body is visibly softer, her breathing deeper, her muscles relaxed, do you move toward more intimate touch. Step 3. Enter with awareness. When you do begin genital touch, stay slow. Tease the external areas first. Let arousal build naturally. When you finally enter her with one finger, do so with full attention. You're not searching frantically for a spot. You're exploring with curiosity and presence. Locate the urethral sponge, that textured tissue on the front wall, 1 to 2 inches in. Apply firm pressure and begin the slow, rhythmic, come here curl we discussed earlier. And here's the critical part. Keep the rhythm steady and predictable. Her body needs consistency to build sensation and trust the process. Don't change what you're doing because you're getting impatient. Don't speed up because you think it will help. Don't stop and ask, is this working? Every minute. Trust the process. Hold the rhythm. Step 4. Navigate the threshold. This is the most critical moment and the place where most men falter. As the urethral sponge swells and sensation intensifies, she will likely hit a threshold. This is the point where the sensation shifts from pleasurable to intense, and her instinct may be to pull back. She might tense. She might grab your wrist. She might say, "Wait, I feel like I need to pee." This is not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're doing something right, and she's hitting the edge of her comfort zone. This is the moment of truth. If you panic, stop abruptly, or become uncertain, her nervous system interprets that as confirmation that something is wrong. The moment collapses. But if you remain calm, grounded, and steady, you give her nervous system permission to move through the fear. Pause if needed, but don't pull away energetically. Meet her eyes. Speak calmly and confidently. Not seeking reassurance, but offering it. You might say something simple like, "I've got you. You're safe. Trust me." Or, "That feeling is normal. It's okay. Let yourself feel it." Your tone matters more than your words. If your voice wavers or sounds uncertain, it won't work. But if your energy remains grounded, if she can feel that you're not afraid of her intensity, her body will soften. Step 5. Guide her through release. When you feel her begin to relax again, resume the stimulation. Maintain that same firm, rhythmic pressure. As sensation builds toward release, you can use gentle verbal guidance to help her surrender. Simple phrases like, "Breathe into it," "Let it go," "You're safe." These aren't commands, they're invitations, reminders that she has permission to release control. When safety and stimulation align, when her nervous system is regulated and her tissue is fully engorged, the release happens naturally. It's not forced, it's allowed. And that distinction makes all the difference. Common mistakes to avoid. Before we wrap up, let me address some common mistakes I see men make repeatedly. Mistake number 1, making it about your ego. If you're pursuing squirting to prove something about yourself, stop. That energy creates pressure, and pressure kills arousal. Mistake number 2, inconsistent technique. Changing rhythm, pressure, or angle constantly disrupts her ability to build sensation. Once you find what works, stay with it. Mistake number 3, ignoring her nervous system. All the technique in the world won't work if she's stressed, anxious, or doesn't feel safe. Energy first, technique second. Mistake number 4, rushing the process. Squirting rarely happens in the first 10 minutes. Build arousal slowly. Let her body open gradually. Mistake number 5, taking it personally if it doesn't happen. Some women may not be able to squirt due to anatomical differences, past trauma, or simply preferring other types of stimulation. That's completely normal and doesn't reflect on you. Here's what I want you to understand. Squirting is not the pinnacle of female pleasure. It's one type of experience among many. Some women love it, some are indifferent. Some prefer other forms of stimulation entirely. The real skill isn't making a woman squirt. The real skill is creating safety, presence, and attunement, so that whatever pleasure wants to emerge can do so freely. When you develop that capacity, you become the kind of lover women remember. Not because you knew a trick, but because you made them feel safe enough to fully inhabit their own body. That's the foundation of transformative intimacy. We covered a lot today. You now understand what most men never learn, that safety, presence, and nervous system regulation are the real keys to deep sexual release. I know anatomy and technique can be easier to understand visually, so I've created a detailed educational training on my blog that explains the physical side more clearly, done respectfully and tastefully. You'll find the link in the description. If this video helped you see intimacy differently, hit the like button, subscribe, and drop your questions in the comments. I read them all, and they help me create content that actually serves you. I'm Dr. Julia Rhodes. Real pleasure begins with understanding, and real intimacy begins with safety. I'll see you next time.